Hey guys, and welcome to episode 48 of Dad Knows Best. I am Harrison Mudge, father of one, and today is a very, very special episode. We're actually recording on, firstly, my birthday. I'm the dizzying age of 31 years old now. Whew, time flies when you're having fun. But it's also Father's Day, and as a Father's Day treat, I thought we would bring none other than my father onto the show. So today, I would like to proudly announce or introduce, should I say, my father, Mark Mudge, on the mics. How's it going, Dad?
Hello, everybody. I can't believe it. 48 of these episodes have you done so far?
48 and counting.
That's
they fly
incredible.
by.
Wow. Well, I'm very pleased to be here, sitting next to my son.
How does it? First of all, how does it feel to one, be recording a podcast, and two, be recording a video podcast? For anyone that's listening, we also do a video version of this on YouTube.
Okay.
So they can subscribe to Dad Knows Best on YouTube, please.
I have to say, this is my first podcast. We've probably done a little bit of, as you know, play guitar and do a bit of music and mics and things like that, home mics.
That's why you look so comfortable with the mic in front of you.
But I'm certainly no Peter Crouch. But yeah. So it's good to be here anyway. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So we'll dive straight into it because I think we've got plenty that we can talk about. But we'll keep it on topic of of fatherhood and parenting. But I want to take it way back to. So you're a proud father of three. Me being the middle one, and as everyone knows, being the middle son is the hardest. But tell me what it was like. Tell the listeners and viewers what it was like going through the first birth. So Jack, my older brother, what was the labor like? Tell me everything from was he planned?
Was he planned?
To what was it like up to the labor? Was it chaos? Because anyone that's been listening to this show for a while knows, for me, we had a whole positive birth thing planned, and Emmy wanted.
You were very organised, I have to say.
Well, we were, and then it all just kind of went to shit in the end.
Did it? Yeah, no, you're probably more organised than me and your mother. Although he said that, to think back to the birth is a long time. You got to remember, I'm getting Alzheimer's now, I'm getting older. But yeah, that does seem a long time ago because... what's Jack now? What's your brother? Is it 34?
He's 34, yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah, so best part 35 years ago, so that's giving her age away. Wow. But yeah, I think with Jack, we were in a situation where we'd been married 4 years with your mum.
Yep.
We didn't actually think we could have kids because even though we knew we wanted kids and obviously we like a family, and we had a ball, in 4 years before we had kids. It's great. Just a heads up, everybody, if you want to do anything, get it done before you have kids. But yeah, we had a good time, and we came to the point where we thought we would like a family, but your mum, because of a woman's position, we didn't think she could have kids.
Not to dive too deep, was that like because of an age thing or a medical thing or
medical?
Okay,
yeah, monthlies and whatever were all over the place. So much so that just the history to do with your bro. We'd been to see a gynaecologist in Burton, and she tended to be all over the place with her monthlies and whatever. But he put her on, I suppose it was like the fertility pill, really, which is supposed to regulate your monthly cycle. So she'd been taking this for some time. No, let me get this right. We actually thought we had a
hold on, change everything.
Yeah, rewind that. Yeah, we initially went to see him because as a gynaecologist, we thought she may have more of an underlying problem, like cysts on her ovary or something like that. It was obviously quite worrying, difficult time to go through, because we've been married 4 years, but your mum was quite young when I met her, and she was at that point, I think she was 23, would she be? So I'd known her since she was about 18 or 19.
You tell me, you're looking at me for the answers.
I forget you weren't there. No. Yeah, so we went to see this gynaecologist, Mr. Smith, I think his name was, seemed to be cool. Nice guy. Thought she might have cysts on her ovary or so. Anyway, he put us on put your mum on this fertility pill to regulate her monthlies. And I got called in one day into hospital because she'd gone in for a checkup. And I remember going in, and they were all around the bedside. And the nurse said, "Oh, you need to come and see us, Mr. Mudge, because we've got something to tell you." Well, obviously, I feared the worst because we thought that there may be an underlying problem. You know, who knows? And they were doing this bit with the, where they put the jelly on or the gel.
The ultrasound.
Ultrasound, yeah. Ultrasound. And he said, "What do you think it is?" So I'm thinking, well,
I'm not the doctor here.
No, I don't really know. But then it turns out it was Jack. It was your bro.
What? So she was pregnant by that point then?
She was nearly 4 months pregnant.
What? You didn't have no?
We had no idea.
Neither of you had any idea.
No. And of course, I guess the possibility would have been that not only would we have had Jack, but we could have had 4 or 5 others, because it was a fertility pill that she was on. Wow. As it turned out, it was just your brother.
I guess with a track record of irregular cycles, that you almost don't kind of consider it's just we've just missed a month or 3.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because it was nothing unusual.
Yeah.
She could go for literally months without having anything.
Wow.
And then, it would be perhaps a bad one or not much at all. So it wasn't unusual to go for 3 or 4 months. But as I say, we got called in, and it turns out, here we go, this is Jack, all systems go, you're on for having a baby, which was fantastic because after 4 months of thinking, 4 years of thinking that we couldn't have children and wanting kids, it was quite something really to find out that your mum was expecting. And in those days, as you know, I was running a business, still am running a business, cleaning contractor. And it's tough, it's hard making ends meet. So
before we get on to obviously the main event of the middle son, what was it like having Jack then and trying to run a business at the same time?
Tough. Yeah, very tough. Because your mum, she'd been working for... I met her, she was working for William Davies in Loughborough, doing computer inputting and whatever down there. Then she went to work for Blaw's in Measham, John Blaw's, and as is the case with lots of families, you're quite reliant on your second income. So your mum, even though, as I say, this wasn't planned, we didn't go in for it and have a big pot of money that we saved up ready to have kids.
Yeah, because I mean, normally you can't plan it down to the minuscule detail, but I guess you normally say, okay, we're kind of at that time where we're, like, for example, me and Emmy, we knew we were ready to start trying for a baby, so at least you then psychologically are preparing yourself for the potential future.
Yeah, well, there was no preparation. We were chucked right in at the deep end, and as I say, at that time, the business was starting to. I think I set my first part timer on a young worker scheme back in 1983, I think it was, and. You used to get a bit back off the government at the time for setting somebody on, and Jack came along in 1985. I started the business in 1981. So we were 2 years into that. Well, anybody who's running their own business will know that in the early days, that takes up a lot of your time, just getting it off the ground and trying to get things moving. So, finding out that we were expecting and Jack was coming along at that point was pretty tough, really. But, it's nothing that lots of other people haven't been through, I'm sure. So he used to come along and what used to happen, this wasn't so much right in the early stages.
Disclaimer: by the way, we like to give pop tips out on the show. I don't know if you've listened to a few of them before, but every pop tip that we give out comes with a big old asterisk saying that if you take any of these tips and advice into the real world, we are not liable for anything. We try to merely share our experiences, and if someone wants to learn a lesson, that's on them.
That's great. Yeah. But we're not taking responsibility for anybody else's business. Yeah, so Jack came along, and as I say, I was kind of working hard, trying to work in all hours, because the problem with cleaning, it's very unsociable. You know, you tend to have to work early in the mornings before offices open, or at night, or at weekends. And that's just the nature of the job. So what it was, we picked up a cleaning contract for cleaning the shopping centre down in the town in Burton-on-Trent, in Worthington Walk it was. And I met this guy, and I bought the property developer, Ken Grundy his name was, and I bought a scrubber dryer, which is a piece of kit that scrubs the floor, and you walk along with it, scrubbing the floor, and then it wet vacuums the floor afterward. It's like a big box with two scrubbing heads on the front and on the back. And as Jack got a little bit older, he was 18 months old, because we had to do this thing on a Saturday morning. It was 6 days a week, 7 days if we're going in scrubbing, the floor out after a busy period. Jack used to come along at 18 months old. You couldn't do this nowadays. It's a bit really against health and safety and everything.
That's what's changed, health and safety regulations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was great. So I used to sit your bro. Actually on the scrubber dryer, because it was quite flat, this 18 months old, and he was at that height, I was walking along, and I'd got my boiler suit on and my collar and tie, scrubbing the floor in Worthington Walk, and people used to walk through on a Saturday morning, and they used to love him. Everybody got to know us.
So people would see you then, and
of course, yeah. Well, it's the nature of the thing. You can do it now, because of course it even though the floors are damp, they're not overly wet. You just leave them slightly wet. So I used to walk up and down with this, a bit like mowing a lawn along the Mall, and Jack would sit on top of the machine. So we'd take him to work with us. This was before you came along, and people got to know us, and they got to know Jack. And but it was tough. A lot of hours working late, and and in the early days. Not to be recommended, but it's just the facts of life. Sometimes you got to go to work and earn a living, and maybe if I've got any regrets, it's perhaps that because of working that I missed out on some of the time then as a dad. Just trying to make ends meet, because you obviously lost your mum's wage, and while you were young at the youngsters.
So fast forward a few years, then what was it like when? Same sort of question. So, what was I planned? What were the circumstances of going for a second baby? Was it a bit more? Were you aware that it was going to happen this time around, or was it another surprise in the same respect that Jack was?
Well, I knew how it happened, but I can't remember the honest answer to that. Did we plan it? I don't think we did. We knew we wanted another child, because it's nice to have a family.
I guess you don't like planning is such a it's very it sounds very hyper specific. I guess it's more your willingness to have a second. It's like, shall we go for it or shan't we, and then let's see what happens, right?
Yeah, shall we go for
I mean, am I putting words in your mouth? You tell me.
Well, I can't, you don't know anymore. I can't ever remember a time.
I don't need to know.
No, this is too much information. Where we had a spell where we were physically trying, for a baby, if that's what you're referring to.
I don't know anymore.
No. You came along, not by accident, because I say maybe we weren't taking precautions, because having gone through the period of time where we didn't think we could have any kids, we maybe felt, after that still that was an issue, that we because your mum would come off this fertility pill.
So you're playing it fast and loose.
So we probably were actually, and it wasn't, we weren't taking precautions or anything, but then a couple of years went, because it's 2 years, but you remember?
No, there's it's like 3.5 years, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. Because today I'm 31. Jack's 34.
When he returns,
but he's 35 at the end of the year. So,
okay, yeah. So 3. So it was still a fair while, isn't it? Because of course then 9 months you got to take off that as well from when you were conceived. But we weren't actually taking precautions, but we were happy certainly if it happened, it happened. It was great because we didn't want Jack to be on his own, and you came along and we were made up. The fact that we were
Changed
expecting
everything.
little Mudge number 2.
So what was the birth like for that one? Because I know that it wasn't as plain sailing as Jack, was it?
No, you were a nightmare. The thing about Jack was, right, your mum, we all know your mum wasn't thin as a pin. At the time she'd put a little bit of weight on, but she didn't have actually any problems. Sometimes they say that you have your first child and it makes the way for all the others. Well, the first one, I know Emmy had quite a tough time, didn't she, with Elliot, and that's par for the course, really. Often mums will have a difficult time with the first child, but your mum actually didn't have too tough a time with Jack. She had a normal pregnancy. He was a big lad. He came along. I think Jack was 8.5, was he? Or 8'10"?
Again,
like
I wasn't there.
Yeah. No, something like that. You were bigger. You were 9'2", I think, or 9'10" even might have been. Anyway, bigger than Jack.
I was in the paper either way.
But Jack, she didn't have any problems with having Jack, so it was a normal birth. He was wired for sound. She had to be induced, I think, just to start him off.
That seems. See, that's the thing with the whole positive birthing route that we went down. Something that it sort of educated us or skewed our perspective of, or however you want to sort of say it, but it made us aware that when you go to hospital to give birth, they sort of get you, there's a definite route that they push you down, because they're obviously trying to, like, you go to the hospital because you're there to give birth, so they try and get the ball rolling quicker, so a lot of the time you get induced, and then there's the fear that this is when you force the idea being that when you force the pregnancy to happen, the chance of complications, in air quotes, to occur increases because you're forcing it. Whereas if you can be as natural as possible, your body knows when it's ready to give birth and all this stuff. So when you pass term or whatever the phrase is, that's when they induce you and stuff like that. But if you're not technically ready, then it can cause issues. So it seems to be that when you go to hospital, they'll force things, and then the worst case scenario is a cesarean. So that was something that we were really really afraid of. We obviously wanted a midwife-led birth, but then Emmy had high blood pressure, so that wasn't possible in the end. But all in all, it worked out for us. But it's just a very scary point in time.
And that tends to be the situation that if the blood pressure, so say in your mum's case, I think that probably was why they induced her, because she'd gone the full term. Jack was obviously going to be quite a big baby. It was her first baby. And they thought, well, we don't need it to cook anymore. So, we'll just start her off. And he was wired for sound and monitored it, and he came out, like backing a bus out, it was like... So, it was great, no problem. Now, I say all that because you were entirely different, because if you scroll forward now to when you came along, unfortunately, we had an old-fashioned midwife, right, and what happened, Jack, they were both born at Burton. You were born at Burton, and Jack was born at Burton.
So was Elliot.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a great hospital. I've had a couple of ops there, different things, and we've nothing but good things to say about Burton. But they had a problem with a virus that was around at the time, not COVID, but it was something like. I don't think it was MRSA, but it was one of the viruses, which meant that it had to be closed for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So you came along, and it meant that you were actually overdue. So you were 2 weeks overdue, which is unusual. They don't normally like to leave you that long. Hence, this is why you were a big lad when you eventually were born, and because they didn't want to. Obviously, mums and people going into hospitals and having complications, having a baby's bad enough, but if you're getting other complications as well, so they delayed it. Now we, because I can remember, your mum waking up in the night and we'd gone to bed, and waking me up and saying, "Oh, well, it's dark. You know, I'm like you. I don't like my sleep broken." One thing we can do in this family is sleep.
And you go to bed quite late as well, right? So
Yeah,
I imagine you
yeah.
had another one of your standard late nights.
Yeah,
3 a.m.ers.
Possibly, a night owl, yeah. But I just remember this particular night. Got to go. Think of stuff. No, we need to go now. And getting in the car. And suddenly realising halfway down the way to Burton that basically the car was running on fresh air.
Oh my God.
It was on fumes. So I did say that to your mum, and I said, look, if all else fails, we can coast down the hill into Burton. Because, the second one actually does come quicker.
Yeah.
You'll find this, hopefully, that once it started off, it does happen. Now, because she'd gone 2 weeks over your mum in this situation, when the baby decides to come, it decides to come, and there's nothing you can do about it. So
I actually think that was a similar situation with Sarah, Adam and Sarah, when Reggie was born.
Yeah.
They didn't even leave the house. He actually delivered his own child.
Yeah. We weren't quite at that point, but certainly we were. We certainly were at that point, which I'll tell you why in a minute. But it. You didn't have to be induced, whereas Jack was induced, you didn't have to be induced. So we went into hospital. We had an old-fashioned midwife. Now, it was an unusual time because, as I say, not so many people were on the wards due to the problem with the virus that was around this MRSA or whatever it was at the time, the bug that was in the hospital. We had an old-fashioned midwife, and she used to, rather than going along with all the modern tech of attaching the wires to monitor the baby's heartbeat and things like that, she used the old-fashioned trumpet, that you listen to the with gel on there and listen to the heartbeat.
Did you not? Was that not raising any red flags at the time?
No, not really. We actually had quite a bit of confidence in her. Nice girl she was. Really nice woman. And we were. Hey, listen, I was relaxed about it because I knew what an easy time your mum had had, unusually, with Jack, your brother, on the first one. So, as I say, we were in there, and I'm really dead chilled. Your mum. She's got every confidence in you, Mrs. Mudge.
Just a pat on the back.
Yeah, you do this, falling off a log. Midwives, trumpet on the valley. Yeah, everything's relaxed and all that. Anyway, we get to the point where you're starting to crown. And we suddenly realise that you were breached. And basically, the cord was round your neck.
Yep.
So every time your mum pushed, you're a bit like a yo-yo. You'd come backwards and forwards, in and out like this, which is not good because obviously if you're left in the birthing canal for too long, it can cause brain damage. And I just remember going from this really chilled out, hey man, this is great, you'll be fine, feeling suddenly, wow, this is not good, not great. And half a dozen nurses came piling in from nowhere. She called them in, and it was like lights were flashing, and there was a real. It was where we'd got a real problem. Anyway, they managed to eventually get you out. I think you'd got your arm around as well, and it was around your neck and your arm.
Wasn't that arm round my head? And
it would
cord round the neck.
Cord round the neck, yeah. Which perhaps explains quite a bit now, actually.
Still sleep like that, actually. Sometimes wake up.
It's amazing, isn't it? You're happy to do that. You don't know. Yeah.
Reminisce.
Yeah. So, they eventually get you out, and that took some time to get you out. And the nurses were telling the old-fashioned midwife off for not using it. She said, this is why we tell you to use the technology which we've got. If you'd have done this, it wouldn't have happened. Which I thought was a bit harsh, but it was.
When you've got the gear, use the gear though is probably the
But she'd certainly had a long.
She's obviously a seasoned vet, right? That's just stuck in a way, stuck in her very old school ways.
And sometimes old school can be better.
Well,
there's different.
That is true actually, because when they were taking Emmy's blood pressure, they have like an electrical one now, so they just put her arm in it, press a button, and it does the whole thing itself. obviously she had high blood pressure anyway, but what they did every time is they would revert back to the old school pump and the little watch, because they always use the same line, every one of them. It's like, oh, sometimes the mechanical one comes out with a higher reading. So obviously there is some truth to the old school methods, are a little bit more accurate potentially.
Yeah. And sometimes people want to do things more naturally, don't they? Which I can understand. But certainly she had no history of losing kids through making bad decisions or anything like that. You just came.
That was her last day.
it was purely I think she could happen or continued practice some time afterwards. But it was an issue, that could have been avoided had you been. The monitor's been put on your head, but anyway, you came out, and it was pretty scary, really, because we both thought you were dead. Because when this baby comes out, and you were like a licorice all sort, because all the blood had been with being corded had been pumped up to your head, and it was in your feet as well. So the bit in the middle was white. You got blue, and they give you this. I think it's a vitamin K injection, which releases a lot of the blood.
K? It's either K or D.
Yeah. And anyway, your mum thought you were dead as well, but we both thought you were dead. But after what seemed an absolute eternity, you started crying, and which was really quite emotional, because, as I say, having gone from being very relaxed about something to being really, really stressed about the whole situation. And then finding, you got another lovely bounce in. Well, not a little boy, big boy, because I think you were 9, 10. You were quite wizened. I remember the doctor saying to me, oh, look at him, he's overcooked, isn't he? Because all the flesh. Jack was quite plump when he came out and normal, whereas you, because you'd gone a fortnight over, yours was hanging on you,
What? So I didn't have, because the babies have extra fat, right? They're just a little chubby. But was I skinny or?
I think your flesh, your skin was a bit floppy, not as plump as a baby, not terribly, but he obviously felt it was like that way because you've been overdone, really, or left for longer than would normally have been the acceptable way. Now, whether or not that was a reason why you got into difficulties, and say you got your arm up and you got corded, I don't know. But the upshot of that was that, as you won't remember this, but you came out and you had quite a few breathing difficulties at the time, and you got diagnosed as being an apnea baby, which really meant that you're considered more susceptible to cot death syndrome. You stop breathing. You'll breathe normally for a while, then all of a sudden stop breathing.
Wow.
And
how long did that go on for?
Well, I think the first week we realised you had a problem.
So you didn't know that straight away then, or?
Your breathing was erratic.
Okay.
So your mum obviously talked to the midwife and the people at the hospital, and they says, yeah, we think you need to have this monitor fitted, which was a little box of tricks about 6-7 inches by about 1.5 inches. And it had a little wire that came out of it with a pressure pad that sat on your tummy, and that we used to sit that in the cot with you at night, which meant that as you're breathing, your rib cage and that rose and fell, the monitor would be fine; it wouldn't go off.
Yeah.
But the minute you stopped breathing, it registered with the monitor and it went off like a microwave or a smoke alarm. And I can remember, this was a really stressful time for me and your mum, because on numerous nights you would stop breathing, and we used to have to we had to give you the kiss of life on a your mum gave you the kiss of life on 1 or 2 occasions, but we'd almost get stuck in the door. We were both rushing to try and get you away, which was easy enough to do because you could blow on you and start you breathing again. But that was pretty scary, really. So those early months that went by, with you not breathing and being on this apnea monitor and having had a hard time with the birth, really, it puts you in touch with yourself and makes you realise that having kids is great, but they come with a bit of a health warning.
Yeah, well, I just remember with Elliot, it was like I say, we built it up to be super positive and everything was hopefully going to be okay, and then it felt like a cascade of events that everything just kept going wrong, and that it was very scary. Even once he was born, obviously Emmy lost a bit of blood, so once he was out, and then Emmy was just like pale as a ghost, and then they put the baby in the little incubator or whatever it is where they just keep them warm and all that, and obviously there's a rush of doctors and nurses coming in and doing all sorts of stuff, and it was like I thought that he was going to come out and then we're good, but anything can happen. And we had a listener, John, who emailed in as well. He was speaking about their little baby that's due soon, and there's a potential for Down syndrome, and one of the things that me and Adam was saying is that like you can't worry about things until they happen, because anything can happen, that you just need to like tackle it as it does, because they'll keep you on your toes.
And some things in life, it's not the things you worry about that get you in. They're the least of your problems. It's the ones that come left field that you've never ever considered, that knock you for six and just take the wind out of your sails. You can end up worrying or fretting about lots of stuff that never ever happens.
So that's Jack and that's me. Obviously we've got Ollie, who is the youngest of the trio. Now he turns 17 this year, so there's a big age gap with the three of us. Between Ollie and me and Jack. What happened there? I mean, I don't want to know exactly what happened, but that feels like more of a surprise than potentially the others.
I know some people say, "Oh, it was a mistake." It wasn't. Ollie was a surprise. It was a big surprise. Interestingly, your granddad, my dad, I'm the eldest of five in our family. Well, there is a similar age gap between me and my youngest brother. Your grandma and granddad were together for 40 odd years. But my dad had mumps, so he thought he was clear. He thought he couldn't have kids. And then Jonathan came along, who's my youngest brother. Well, in your situation, Oliver's situation, this was very much a surprise, because your mum was 41 at the time when she conceived Ollie, and certainly not planned for. I said I only put it in a little bit,
Oh my God.
It's one of those things, isn't it, that comes along and it happens. I think what was happening at the time, joking aside, I think your mum would come, was changing a pill or something like that. She'd come off, and we had one slip. Literally one slip, can you believe that? And along 9 months later comes Oliver, which has been absolutely fantastic. We love him to bits, and that has made a huge difference, certainly at this time of life. And maybe things are, on the wind down, you're calming down, people have got more time. But it's and thinking back to what you're saying about your listener, was it John who emailed in? Yeah. He was saying there's a possibility of Down syndrome. What happens is getting older. That is a possibility with mums that have children later on in life. So I think they gave this injection called amniocentesis. I think it's called. Not sure. I think that's the name for it. Where you have an injection to just check whether the child has got. We would have had that Oliver anyway, but some people it gives them the opportunity if they don't want that situation to make a decision not to proceed. But in our case, whatever it was, I think the odds are about 1 in 80. It comes to
so I think so. There's it's called a nuptial translucency test, so when they do the scan, they measure like the gap on the back of their neck or something like that.
Yeah.
And if it's within a certain size, that can infer a higher chance.
Yes. Yeah.
And in John's case, for example, it was like 1 in 100.
Right.
Something like that. So it's less than 1 in 100, which is like it is pretty much nothing, right? But obviously, you have to tell people if there's a chance of something, like if you look at paracetamol or something. Normally, there's a list of side effects and things like that. So they have to tell you everything. But But
we'd have proceeded anyway. But it was something that we were given or asked for us to have.
So did you say you did that test?
Yeah. And as I say, at the time, we were told the odds were about 1 in 80. There was a possibility. But Ollie came along and he was absolutely right as rain, you know, and he's been a fantastic addition to the Mudge clan. He needs a slap now and again, but
I think we all do sometimes, though, don't we?
But the thing about having kids is, and I feel this, you know, because we love you all dearly, and you're all very different, you know. I mean, I can say this, you know, we all get on and we're all pretty open, and you know, we take the rip out of each other, and it's great, and we have our moments, you know, where we fall out, you know, and we'll have a frank exchange of words, won't we, and do that. But I think certainly from my point of view, I mean, Oliver later on in life, as I've got older, has probably kept us young, you know, and made us. I think you get more selfish as you're getting older, you know, more self-concerned about doing stuff. Which
I guess that's kind of the next phase, though, right? You have the kids grow up, you then become a couple again, and that's when you just start doing, like you say, doing your own thing.
And maybe having a bit more me time, you know, but. You know, I wouldn't swap anything for the world, really, and I genuinely mean that. You know, you've all been great kids. You know, you've never brought us any trouble, any problems, and there's nothing better than having a family. You know, it's costly, it's expensive having kids, and certainly these days, and there's many sacrifices that you have to make financially, time, emotionally, all kinds of stress. You know, lots of things that come with having a family, but you know, the rewards far outweigh those. You know, so and being a dad, I don't think it's anything compares really.
So funnily enough, a friend and listener and watcher of the show, Alex Rolls, I think you might know Alex. Actually,
Alex.
I told him that we were going to jump on the mics in that, and one of the things he wanted to know, and I do as well, and something I'm going to ask Adam as well. A similar question, but he wanted to know if you had any tips for dealing with. When you've got a couple of kids that are just being little shits and they're fighting, because I know me and Jack, for example, have had many a scuffle. Like, what's it like when the kids are just doing your nutting and they're swinging pool cues at each other on holiday?
Yeah.
How do you deal with a couple of little shits?
You see, I've got to be careful. You know, I'm not. There's been all kinds of people who claim to be experts on how to bring up kids, and I know you can get pattern behaviour. You know, if your dad's been aggressive and he's hit you or things like that, then that can be, you know, come through in your children. They say. I personally, and this is just my opinion, and I don't expect anybody to agree with me or anything like that. I don't think a little slap now and again. Not talking, you know, knocking your kids around. It is a bad thing, you know, but there needs to be boundaries. I think that's what kids need to understand, that there needs to be boundaries. And you're right, on the occasion I think you're referring to, we'd gone down and we were staying in a hotel down in Bournemouth, and it was a nice hotel, and there was a pool table in the middle of the lounge, and I think you were probably, what would you be, maybe 6 and 9, maybe? You think? Something like that, 3 years between you? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we were young, definitely young.
Yeah, quite young.
Yeah.
And I remember there's some convention at the time, and you were playing pool on the table, which was great. But then all of a sudden, as happened more in the younger days, you used to fall out with each other. But this particular day, you started hitting each other with the pool cues. So I marched you out of the room, you know, finger up the nose and say, you do that again, you know, and we're going to bed. And fully expected you to calm down and get on with the game, and there'd be no more problems. Well, the minute you got back in the room, and this was packed, this room was, it was absolutely full of people. So you were causing quite a scene, but you were right at each other's throats. So that particular day, I remember marching you off to your bedroom and giving you a good hiding. But you have
fully
to say
deserved
you
as well.
You deserved it. And and as I say, I'm not saying we should hit the kids, and hopefully you don't think I've been too hard on you in that respect.
No, I think it's the intention, right? Like when it comes to whether people agree with it or not is obviously
because it is open for debate. Definitely.
But I think it's like it's more the concept of punishment.
Yeah.
Now some people will say, well, you should be able to punish someone without having to lay a hand on them. But I only remember being smacked probably like 3 times.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think knowing what a smack was going to be like was enough of a deterrent, because you used to always do the count to 3.
Yeah, that's right.
So and looking back, I imagine number 2 was a very long 2. It wasn't like a 1, 2, 3. It was like 1, 2, stop crying, and it was like
But
because we
you've
knew
had
that
to smack somebody at some point to get to that point where they know what the 1, 2, and the 3 is going to lead to. So it's like any deterrent. There has to be something at the end of it.
Yeah.
But you were good kids. You never ever caused that much of a problem where you took it to number 3. On that occasion with the pool cues that night, you did take it to number 3.
It's weird because I actually like looking back at mine and Jack's relationship when we were younger. We'd get on, but then it would just blow up.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what. Like Jack just had like just a skill where even at the dinner table because he'd sit opposite. He could just look at me with that look in his eye,
and
I'd be like, "Mom, he's doing it! He's doing it again!" And I'd just flip out. So and it was only when I
he's baiting you.
He'd always bait me, and Mum would be like, "Don't rise to it." I'm like, "He's doing it though," and I'd lose my shit.
Yeah.
But it was always when I got to about 18, it was only from that point where we kind of just. Obviously, we've both grown up by that point, right? But it was only when I was 18 where we sort of got on properly as sort of young adults or whatever. But and obviously we don't really fall out anymore. Well, we don't fall out.
No, I think you get on really well now.
But but I think boys. My understanding is boys can be a bit of a terror, right? When they're young, if you've got a couple of lads.
I think it's hard to. Everybody's different, aren't they? And people, sometimes it's genetic. Some people are more laid back. Some people are more naturally aggressive. As I say, you've all been good lads. And you've not caused any problems. But I don't claim to be an expert on giving advice on how to bring kids up.
There's actually a TV program on at the moment about raising kids, different techniques and things like that, and they're up there. It's like some sort of weird competition or something. I don't know. It's bizarre.
I know people who say about the naughty step, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I mean, people knowing about my dad used to send me up into the bedroom for hours on end if I'd done something wrong. I personally don't think that. I can remember looking out the window and thinking, "Oh dear," just cut to the chase. Give me a slap. Let's get it over and done with quick. Because in some ways that's a little bit more torturous. It's drawing it out and making you think about things. For longer. When if we're straightforward, I think in any time in life, listen, we all do it now. We know when we're out of line, don't we? Or when we need a bit of a tightener, or just pulling up for something. The time should befit the crime, really.
And I also think one thing to make clear as well is the for anyone that might be against smacking, I think what you've got to remember is that the smack is offset by a lot of love, so it's not like Dad's never around, he's only there to give a pasting, and it happens all the time. Like it was very few and far between, but you were a loving dad that was around, and we always have a good time most of the time. So it's that, and I think it's that contrast that we all get on all the time, and then all of a sudden we've swung cues at each other, and then we've earned a smack. So,
I mean, that's not for me to say, Harry. But honestly, it's for you to, because
I definitely don't
remember it, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely don't look back and think we used to just get beat all the time, because I wouldn't be speaking to you now. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I've grown up. Tapped or anything like that. I don't know. No, maybe ask the wife on that one.
You seem to have grown up pretty well adjusted, but at the same time, you can't say that we've got everything right, because there are people that certainly don't always agree with physical punishment. And I'm stressing that it's not something that we'd recommend. But personally speaking, I look at some of the other measures, and I don't know if they're necessarily always as successful as people say either, So, and every child's different, so you have to make, listen, you don't come with a kit of instructions, or something which says, look, if your child does this on this and this, on a manual, you're making this up as you go along. Yeah. A lot of the time, you're learning as you go along. Kids, every child's different. Every personal circumstances are different. If you've just come in from a bad day at work, when you're stressed, you're not making a lot of money, you've got issues like that. Sometimes you're having a bad day, people will kick the dog, and that happens in certain families, where the sadly the parents will take it out on the kids because of issues they've got themselves, and it's about everybody trying to understand each other, where they're coming from, and hopefully in our situation things haven't been too bad. We've been lucky, maybe, but that's not to say we've always got it right. But I think this is about giving advice on parenting. I remember once one of the mates that I play with in the band, play guitar with, and we were down the pub, and his little lad was giving it this, and I've always considered this guy to be the nicest, meek and mild fella you'd ever have to wish to meet, And I just happened to say, do you not think he needs to? And he absolutely bristled back at me and said, don't tell me how to give my kids what I should be doing. And I'm thinking, so I don't give advice, really. All I can say is this is what we did, I mean, it's because it's very personal, right? Of course,
only you know, like you say, only you know, not that anyone really knows what the right answer is, but you know more than anyone else how to handle your kids.
I think it is something, certainly, maybe as you get older, you're mellow anyway.
I remember when Ollie was younger, that even how you treated him compared to how you treated me and Jack, it was different. I remember us saying, you've gone soft, you have, Dad. So.
That's just age, mate. That's just calming down, but I think as well, some of the things that we're saying, because it was tough, in the early days with having a business and, all the other external pressures. Sometimes it's not what you've got in your own family, it's all the other crap that comes from outside that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, you're just doing your best with each other. But the tendency or the concern is to not try to bring that home and take it out on your family, And I say one of my regrets, I think more than anything else, sometimes is the time that I didn't always spend. Not so much with Oliver. I think I've had more time as I've got older, but with Jack and yourself in the early days, because unfortunately keeping a business going is quite absorbing, and I feel some of it I missed out on, but hey, it's spilt milk, we hopefully get on now and I can help you out with Elliot.
Exactly.
And we've always got on, but we can do more things together.
I mean, I think that's something that I'm aware of as well with Elliot, because me and Adam have spoke on the show about it, especially when it comes to work. It's very easy to think, so like for example, Adam obviously is building the business that I work for, but he's sunk so much time into it, and with the intention that if I work hard now, I'll have all the time in the future to spend with the family. And I know that he has coaching, and his coach said, but if one of your goals in life is to spend more time with the family, why are you working so hard on the business now to spend time with them in the future? Why don't you just spend the time with the family now? And from just listening to the stuff that he's going through and learning from, I've sort of learned myself is obviously I do long hours at work and things like that, but like I've make it clear. I make a point now to not work over the weekends, just so we've always got Saturday and Sunday, and just spend time in the mornings before I go to work with the family. We all get in bed and things like that. So
I think work-life balance is one of the hardest things to achieve for anybody. You know, and it's a bit like a guy who works all his life and saves, you know, I'm going to save everything to the day I retire at 65. And he gets to 65 and he's not spent any, not gone on a holiday, and he's not, you know, had a season ticket to watch Leicester, or he's not done anything, you know, but when I'm 65, I'm going to really enjoy. And he kills over the next day. You know, you can't, in life, you can never get that time back. You know, once the sand in the egg time has gone through down to the bottom, it's gone. You know, so you got to try somewhere along the line, enjoy yourself along the way, you know. And there's a lot of things. It's not about money, you know. It's not about. You just got to. It can be difficult, but you have to make time. If your family really does come first, and they're the important things in your life, then you just got to try to do your best to make time for it. But it's not easy.
No, definitely not. I feel like we could keep talking for hours, but what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there because we're at about 50 minutes or so. Okay. We'll definitely do a follow-up. Hopefully everyone that's listening and watching has thoroughly enjoyed this. I know I have. Definitely get you back on the show, Mark, because you've been a great guest.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Head over to YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, share, and all that good stuff. If you want to get in touch, you can email dadknowsbest@nbs.fm. Until next time, guys, see you later.